What if a medieval castle was intentionally set ablaze, not by enemies, not by war, but by those who lived within it, to erase a scandal forever? Nestled deep in the forested hills of southern Germany, near the banks of the Danube River, stood Schwarzfeld Castle, the Black Field, a name whispered with awe, and later with fear. Built in the early 14th century, during the turbulent decades following the Crusades, this fortress wasn't just stone and mortar. It was a declaration of power. Its towers pierced the mist like spears. Walls 3 meters thick encircled the keep, perched atop a jagged ridge that overlooked every approach for miles. From afar, it looked untouchable, a dark crown set against the silver clouds of the German sky. Inside, opulence reigned, imported tapestries from Flanders, stained glass glinting like fire in the morning light, and a grand banquet hall with a vaulted ceiling painted in gold leaf and stars. But beyond the grandeur, Schwarzfeld was isolated. Surrounded by dense pine woods and fog-draped valleys, the castle kept its secrets close. Few visitors came uninvited. Fewer ever saw what lay in its lowest chambers, and when it burned, no one truly knew what or who was lost in the fire. The noble family who lived within, the House of Eberstein, old blood, older secrets. For nearly 2 centuries they ruled from Schwarzfeld Castle. A noble line said to be descended from Frankish knights rewarded these lands for their loyalty to the emperor. Their coat of arms bore a black stag on crimson, a symbol of vigilance and dominance. But behind that heraldry was a family divided by ambition. Count Matthias von Eberstein, the last true lord of the house, was a man both revered and feared. A patron of the arts, a skilled diplomat, but also a man rumored to settle disputes with poison, not parchment. His wife, Lady Isolde, came from the French court. Beautiful, cold, calculating. Whispers claimed she never loved Matthias, only the title that came with him. Together, they had 2 sons, Frederick, the heir, brave but reckless, and Adalric, the younger, quiet, observant, dangerous in silence. Servants spoke in hushed voices. There were arguments behind closed doors, a hunting accident that left no wound. A governess who vanished one winter, her name scrubbed from the records. But none of it ever reached the outside world, not while the castle stood. Because what happens in stone halls, among tapestries and torchlight, was meant to stay buried with the dead. The growing tensions that led to tragedy. By the winter of 1412, the fires in Schwarzfeld's great hearth burned hotter, but the air inside grew colder. Count Matthias had grown frail, his hair white as frost, his voice no longer filled the halls. Yet he refused to name an heir. Frederick, the eldest, believed the title was his by right, but Matthias distrusted his son's impulsiveness, his taste for wine, women, and debt. Adalric, the younger, was quiet, obedient, but far too close to his mother. Some claimed Lady Isolde favored him not just as a son, but as a pawn. Then a letter arrived, sealed with the mark of the bishopric. It warned of accusations, embezzlement, coercion, even heresy within the Eberstein estate. And though the letter was never made public, soon after, one of the estate's scribes was found dead in the stables, his throat slashed, the parchment he carried gone. The servants whispered louder now. Some said Frederick struck his father during an argument. Others swore they saw Adalric creeping through the library after midnight, torch in hand. But in Schwarzfeld, silence was currency, and secrets were far more valuable than truth. Then, one stormy night, Count Matthias disappeared from his chambers. No struggle, no blood, no explanation. His bed was empty, his signet ring left burning in the hearth. The night of fire, a suspicious blaze. It happened on the third night of the spring thaw. The wind had shifted from north to west, and with it came smoke. At first, the villagers thought it was fog. Then came the glow, a red, pulsing light above the treetops. Schwarzfeld Castle was burning, not just a wing, not a kitchen fire, but the entire southern keep consumed in flame. The tallest tower cracked open like bone, its stones glowing hot as embers rained down. Witnesses said the castle gates were barred from the inside. No guards emerged, no servants fled. The only sound was the roaring fire and a single bell tolling again and again until it too fell silent. By dawn, the castle was a skeleton. Its walls still stood, blackened and broken. The roof had caved, the chapel was ash. Of the Eberstein family, not a single soul was found. No bodies, no cries, no survivors, only scorched stone and the stench of something deeper than smoke. Death and evidence erased. When the embers cooled, they searched. The bishop's men, the townsfolk, even distant relatives from Vienna. But there were no bodies. Not of Count Matthias, not of Lady Isolde, not of Frederick, nor Adalric, nor a single member of the household staff. The vault beneath the chapel, where family records were kept, had collapsed. Charred scrolls, blackened seals, a melted key fused into the lock. In the great hall, only fragments remained. A broken goblet, a half-melted dagger, and something strange. A second signet ring, nearly identical to the one found days before. Some claimed the heat was too great, that bodies turned to ash. Others whispered of hidden tunnels, of a planned escape cloaked in fire, but the most damning silence came from the church. All mention of the Eberstein family vanished from cathedral ledgers within a year, as if they had never existed. The clues that survived. Months passed, the ruins cooled, grass crept between the cracks of the stone, and silence returned to Schwarzfeld. But silence rarely lasts forever. In autumn of that same year, a monk from Ulm arrived. He claimed to be compiling genealogies of noble houses. Yet he spent days wandering the rubble, alone at night. Before he left, he delivered a package to the town priest. A charred leather journal, its pages warped by heat, but not unreadable. The writing inside was slanted, precise, Adalric's hand. It spoke of shadows within the family, of confessions forced in candlelight, and of a debt that could only be paid in fire. A single page had been torn out. No one knows by whom or why. Later, a local hunter found something buried under a collapsed wall, a silver comb engraved with the Eberstein crest and tangled with what looked like strands of white blonde hair. It matched Lady Isolde's. Some say she never left the castle. Others believe she left everything, including her name, behind. Theories and motives behind the fire. What truly happened at Schwarzfeld Castle? Some believe it was murder-suicide, that Count Matthias, in a moment of despair, set fire to his legacy to punish those who betrayed him. Others insist it was Lady Isolde, that she orchestrated the fire, perhaps with Adalric's help, to eliminate Matthias and vanish with her favored son. But then comes the troubling question. Why destroy the entire household? Servants, guards, even loyal retainers, unless the fire wasn't to erase a single crime, but to erase every witness. There are whispers that Frederick had discovered something, a secret document, a hidden will, a letter from the bishop implicating the family in heresy. If so, then fire was the cleanest knife. But perhaps the most chilling theory is the simplest. They survived. They planned it all. They used the fire not to die, but to disappear. New names, new lands, a quiet life, far from titles and suspicion, a noble family, unmade by flame. And if that's true, somewhere, in a manor, a village, a city cloaked in fog, the bloodline of Eberstein may still be watching. What remains? A haunted castle and lingering silence. Today, what remains of Schwarzfeld Castle is little more than a scar in the forest. Moss has claimed the stones. Roots twist through shattered archways. The grand hall, once filled with music and firelight, is open to the sky. Locals avoid the ruins. Children are warned not to play near it. Some say the air there is still warm, even in winter. Others swear they've heard footsteps at night. Soft, deliberate, pacing through the broken tower where the Count's chambers once stood. Once every few years, a scholar, a writer, a seeker of forgotten things makes their way to Schwarzfeld. Most leave disappointed. A few don't speak of what they found. But in nearby inns over cheap wine and candlelight, the same story is told in hushed tones. The fire wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a silence. No one dares to break. A castle lost to fire. A family erased from record. And a silence that still lingers, stone by blackened stone. Was it a tragic accident? Or the perfect crime hidden behind smoke and noble titles? What do you believe happened that night at Schwarzfeld? A betrayal turned to ash? Or a family that burned the world behind them, just to walk away clean? Let us know in the comments. And remember, history never forgets. It just waits, in the dark, for someone to ask the right question.